to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
This is Mohammed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's been a while since Dan Rafael's been on IFL TV, but I have him on today. Big announcement today as well. Anthony Joshua confirmed to fight Jermaine Franklin at the O2 on April 1st, live on DAZN, not pay-per-view. Get your thoughts and reaction to that, please, Dan.
Well, listen, I think that's a perfectly reasonable, legit, solid, fun fight for Joshua's return. I've seen some people in the immediacy after the announcement, Umar, sort of complaining about it. Oh, he's fighting a guy coming off a loss. And I'm like, well, dude, what do you expect from this guy? Anthony Joshua has for pretty much his whole career since he won the first world, actually even before that, when he had the fight with Dillian Whyte prior to winning the world title, he's fought either other champions or other top quality contenders or mandatory challengers. I mean, he really has had very few quote unquote gimmies since he's become a top level guy. And even this fight with Franklin, I don't think anybody could, in a honest way say it's a gimme. Jermaine Franklin's a good fighter. He proved himself quite a bit in the way he handled himself in the last fight, which is a loss for him. Yes, fair enough. But it was a life and death battle with Dillian Whyte. You could argue that he should have had his hand raised on that night. And by the way, Anthony Joshua himself, he's coming off 2 losses. This is not expected to be another world championship fighter, to go out there and fight the second best guy in the division or whatever. I think every top boxer, particularly in Joshua's situation, is entitled to come back and do a reasonable fight. He's not fighting a bum or, somebody like that. He's fighting a solid, good contender, maybe not top 10, but would you say Jermaine Franklin's top 15 at worst? Yeah, for sure. So I think it's a very reasonable fight. They understand where he's at in his career. They're not looking to do it in a gigantic stadium. It's at the O2. They'll do a good crowd. To their credit, they didn't try to put this on pay-per-view. In terms of the UK market, it's a normal fight as part of your regular DAZN subscription, the same as it is here in America, where we've had the good fortune to not have most of Joshua's fights on pay-per-view because of the fact that it's the different market. So anyway, to make a long story short, I think Anthony Joshua coming back and fighting Jermaine Franklin April 1st, given everything that's gone on with his career, changing trainers once again, it's actually an interesting fight to me.
Okay. Do you expect Anthony Joshua to stop Jermaine Franklin?
That's a good question. Listen, Anthony's a great puncher. When he lands, he can hurt anybody. I don't care what heavyweight you are. But Jermaine Franklin also showed he's got a lot of heart and he can take a good punch. Dillian Whyte hit him with a tremendous amount of punches. So, can he stop it? Absolutely. I don't know if I'd go and say I'd predict a knockout. Maybe Joshua's got, it depends on what the game plan is. So it's hard to say, but without question, he's capable of stopping him for sure. He's a tremendous puncher, when he lands. Absolutely.
Okay. Someone who might not agree with you about what you said so far is Dillian Whyte. Obviously, he was rumoured to potentially get the Anthony Joshua fight. But obviously, Jermaine Franklin has secured it. Dillian Whyte said, I would have been better off losing to Franklin and getting the AJ fight. It's protecting AJ. Do you see where he's coming from?
I mean, look, I don't come at it from a biased perspective, so I get where Dillian Whyte is coming from. I have, no problem with Dillian Whyte. He wants to get the rematch with Joshua, so I can respect that. But to say he'd be better off losing, I don't agree with that. First of all, the Dillian Whyte fight, at least the way I look at it, if they were to do that fight next, because of the hype that would get, combined with Dillian Whyte's name and Anthony Joshua's name and their history and the whole thing, they probably would try to make that a pay-per-view. And I think that the idea here was this is technically the first fight. I mean, even though AJ signed that exclusive agreement with DAZN a while ago, remember the last fight against Usyk was on Sky box office as a pay-per-view because the deal didn't start until after that because Matchroom and Anthony did not own, nor did DAZN own the broadcast rights to the event. So he's coming off the loss, but this is the first fight of the new deal. I think we can all understand they don't want to take any crazy gamble. And the Whyte fight will still be there if he beats Franklin. And frankly, even if he were to lose, that fight will still be sort of a grudge match that would be there, and at some point in the future. So I think they'll do the fight with Whyte and Joshua at some point, but it didn't make any sense to do it in the next fight. I mean, but again, no disrespect to Whyte whatsoever, but he's a party of one on that viewpoint, I think. I mean, it's 6-1, half a dozen of the other, but the better strategic move for Joshua, for Matchroom, and for DAZN is to have him fight somebody that's not Dillian Whyte, and to call on Franklin, who has every argument that he should have been the winner, I think is perfectly reasonable and legitimate.
So obviously the plan is to get Franklin out of the way in terms of a Joshua point of view on April 1st, then go into that rematch with Dillian Whyte late summer, I'd imagine. If he was to come through that and secure 2 wins in the first half of the year, what do you think Anthony does at the end of the year? Who would you like to see him in with? And realistically, can he land those fights with Fury, Wilder, etc.?
Well, you're going on the proposition that Anthony's going to get in the ring and fight 3 times in the calendar year of 2023. And it's been how many years since he's done that? I mean, I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it's been a heck of a long time.
I'll take
a quick look at this. I'm going to call up his record right here, and I'm going to tell you 2 fights in 2019, 2 fights in 18, 2 fights in 17. The last time he had 3 fights in a year was in 2016, which is when he first won the title, and he fought Martin, Brazil, and Eric Molina. So it's been quite a long time since he had 3 fights in the year. Now, he's capable of doing that, but Anthony Joshua events are a different level of other normal boxing matches sometimes. And so I just find it hard to believe that he's going to actually fight 3 times this year. I'd love to see it. I mean, one of my biggest complaints about boxing in today's time frame, and this is not just an Anthony Joshua thing or anything like that, is that the biggest names and the best fighters, unfortunately, very rarely fight more than twice a year. A lot of times these guys might only fight once a year. So to see a top guy like Joshua, in terms of his popularity and his name recognition and the excitement that his events generate, you'd love to see the guy fight 3 times in the year. I'm skeptical, but if he's going to do it 3 times this year, or even like I say, 2 fights this year and then another fight, say early next year, the way like in the time frame we're at right now, I would love to see him fight Deontay Wilder, obviously, if he would be able to get through, the matchup he's got coming up against Franklin, and then perhaps the Dillian Whyte rematch. I'll always want to see him fight Deontay Wilder. Wilder, who knows what he's going to be up to? I mean, I know Eddie Hearn and his, has talked to Shelley Finkel, one of the managers for Deontay, on several occasions about trying to do that fight. The jury is out, I suppose. I mean, if he can get the Fury fight, if Fury's still champion and the Usyk fight happens, that'd be a huge fight also. I mean, when it comes to Joshua in a big time fight, Umar, I'm not that picky. Get through your couple of comeback fights, fine. You want to fight Joshua? I mean, Joshua wants to fight Fury, great. If he can get a fight with Deontay, great. If he wanted to actually try to have a 3rd fight with Usyk, I mean, I guess that'd be okay also. I wouldn't recommend it, but bring me Joshua in a top notch fight. But I think everybody should have to just take a step back, take a deep breath, understand this is, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And in a long stretch of a man's career, taking a fight like Franklin, or even Franklin followed by Whyte, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay.
In terms of DAZN and their price structure, just after the announcement for Joshua Franklin, I saw online that it slightly changed. I don't know if this has happened in the US as well, but it's definitely happened in the UK. Have you seen that, Dan?
I saw that the prices, but I don't remember what they were. They were listed in the announcement that I saw. They were listed in pounds. Now, here in the United States, to give you a brief history of the way that their pricing structure has gone, when it first was created and became available in America in the latter part of 2018, the very first event, for perspective, that they did in terms of boxing was when Joshua had his title fight against Alexander Povetkin. That was the very first boxing event on DAZN. So back then, it was $10 a month, and you didn't have to sign up for a minimum amount of time. Or I think you could get it for, it was like $10 a month, or I think it was like $80 for the year or something like that, or $90 for the year. The price was not terrible at all. Then it raised up to $20 a month, and then the price went up to $100 for the year, because I had originally signed up when it first became available at the $10 a month. I was grandfathered in on that, so I just kept on the monthly. I could have switched over to the annual. Then when they a while later, a couple of years later, they left that grandfather price in for quite a bit. But then I was notified that you have to either sign up, the grandfather, you're not allowed anymore. You either got to get the year or you got to go to the $20 a month. Obviously, at that point, I was like, okay, cool. I signed up for the year. Now, not that long ago, probably, I don't know, several months ago, I guess, I was notified that the price was increasing from $100 a year to $150 a year. So in America, if you want to buy a subscription, it's $20 a month, or it's $150 for the year. And by the way, I totally understand that. I mean, look, boxing is what I do. It's my favorite thing. It's what I do as to make money for my job. It's also what I enjoy. So for me, I can afford the 150 a year, not a big deal. You know, I don't love that they increased my price by 50%. As I said to my wife, hey, they increased my subscription fee by 50%, but the fights are not 50% better, and there's not 50% more fights that are available to watch. But that was sort of a joke. I get it. I mean, it's a business. It's you know, you're not entitled to get it for free. So I find that it's still worth it to me. It's still somewhat reasonable, and so I'm okay with it. Now, as far as what they're doing in the UK, I know it's gone up quite a bit from when they first kicked it off, but I don't know the exact price structure that you guys have. You know, you tell me what you guys got. What do you have to pay?
Okay, so well, it was £7.99 as of yesterday a month. And there was, of course, rumors about this fight being on pay-per-view, Joshua.
Now that's about £7.99 per month. Is that about $10 American?
About $10. About $10.
Yeah. So okay.
But yeah, so there was rumors about this fight being pay-per-view, as we're just accustomed to being charged for Joshua fights. But it's not on pay-per-view. However, if you want to cancel within 30 days, i.e., if you want to do a monthly subscription like you were before, at the $7.99 price, it's now £19.99 as of March 1st. So, i.e., 1 month before the Joshua fight. And I think it's £99 if you just want a year's subscription and you just pay in one go. So the flexible option, which was before £7.99, is now £19.99. So
well, I mean, look, what they're trying to do, and it's business 101. They don't want people to buy the subscription for $7.99, watch the Joshua fight, and then cancel.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want you for the year. And if you don't want it for the year, that's fine also. You just have to pay a higher amount of money for it. I mean, to me, that's smart what they're doing. I mean, it's not maybe the greatest thing if you're only interested in Joshua fights, but if you're interested in things other than Joshua fights, whatever, you know, you saw the rest of their schedule that they put out just on the matchroom fights. That doesn't include any of the other boxing events that they may do, whether it's, you know, the Golden Boy schedule that they have coming up, or, you know, they do pick up some odd fights here and there in America, for example. Obviously it wasn't the case in the UK, but here in the United States, DAZN was the broadcaster for the Chris Eubank against Liam Smith fight. That was just part of your regular subscription. So my point is, you know, they're a business. This is not a charity. You don't get boxing for free just because you like boxing. You got to pay for it. I mean, that's it.
Okay, that's that one. Just before we close off, sticking with the heavyweights, have you heard anything, Dan, on the inside about Fury Usyk and why we still haven't got an announcement yet?
Well, to the best of my understanding is that they're hoping that they can make this match official and have the fight on April 29th. My understanding from the Usyk side is that they have agreed to everything. They've signed off. I can't tell you if they've signed an actual contract, but there's no issues from my understanding on the Usyk side. And it's not to say that there's any huge issues, I don't think, on the Fury side, but they still are unaware of where this fight will take place. And obviously, if you're taking place in, say, Wembley, there's going to be one amount of money that can be generated by the gate. But if they wind up in a place in the Middle East, for example, where there'll probably be greater money, that's going to change a lot of the structure of the business side of things because the money is going to be so much more increased. So Fury has to sign his paperwork, I guess. But the main thing is, and this is not specific to either boxer, is that the two sides have to get the site settled. You can't have a boxing match if you don't have a place to put the ring. So they're, you know, I don't know what you would call the cutoff date or when the deadline is for when they should have that done. But if you're looking at an event at the end of April, particularly of that magnitude, you know, of the undisputed heavyweight championship, you know, you're starting to, you know, there's still some time to go, but you're getting closer where you want to get this situated. I mean, you want to allow fans, particularly if the fight's going to take place in the Middle East, you want to allow there to be enough time for everybody who's going to think about traveling to make their arrangements, whether it's a hotel or airfare, certainly for the teams, for whatever sort of rollout you're going to do, whether it's going to be press conferences or Zoom calls or, you know, your marketing. You know, there are things that come up against deadlines. So again, they have some time, but it's time's a moving. They got to get on it. I'm assuming they will have some kind of, you know, real notice or real something real about this, got to be, I would think, in the next couple of weeks, roughly. That's where they're at. I mean, I still hope that the fight happens. I have wondered myself what the heck is going on, because when the fight was first brought up, everybody was sort of like, hey, we're gung-ho, we're doing this fight, both sides can agree, we're going to split the money, it's not a big deal in terms of how we're cutting it up. Everybody knows that the sides, in terms of Usyk's camp and the top ranked side, they all have a good relationship between Bob Arum and Egis Klimas, the manager. And everybody wanted to see the fight. We already know that the sanctioning bodies are not going to be in any way a problem in terms of sanctioning it. So all 4 belts are at stake. We just had the situation unfold with the IBF where they realized that their mandatory actually wasn't next. So they canceled the order for the next fight to be, for the IBF mandatory, that the WBA is next. That's not going to be a problem because Frank Warren is the promoter for Fury and for Dubois, who's sidelined anyway. They're not pushing for that fight. So the point is, all the things that you need to have happen to get a big super fight on are basically in line. They just got to get, I guess, the site situated, which is very significant, but they still have to do it.
Well, at the end of this month, the Fury family and a lot of the boxing media are actually going to be in Saudi Arabia. So I'm not saying it's going to be announced that week with a press conference,
Right.
but it would make sense probably. Dan, appreciate your time. And we'll speak soon, hopefully. Take care. All the best.
Thanks a lot, Umar. Appreciate it, my man.
I'm going to share something with you that might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.